even the tech companies themselves are having trouble keeping up, as evidenced by, if you're okay moving on
Sure.
to another piece of news that came out, which was on one hand completely predictable, on the other hand, or sort of predictable, and completely shocking on another, and that is that AMD made another acquisition, this time of a company called ZT Systems for, I think it was $5.5 billion, and they're a company that most people, including me, had never heard of. Or I guess it's 4.9 billion roughly. And this is a company that basically is in the business of manufacturing servers and data center hardware and doing design around it. And they're very like a inside baseball sort of company. But what is shocking about this news? So we where we started, we talk about the fact that tech companies are trying to figure this out, right? So obviously, AMD is in this heated battle with NVIDIA, trying to kind of remain relevant and be a, hey, we're here to player when it comes to these AI chips. So they've been making lots of acquisitions, and we've talked in the past about there's a software as a major component. Well, what is interesting with this one is that this is for the way the Wall Street Journal puts it. Let's see, did they write it in their headline? No, I guess not. It was somebody else, as I said, that had it, but basically that it was AMD's $5 billion acquihire, right? Because they have announced that they're going to divest themselves of the manufacturing business, of the actual part that produces something, and just keeping, I think they said, 1,000 really smart engineers, right, that know data center design and
Yeah.
server design, because this is so intrinsic to the ability to operationalize AI. And so it is just absolutely fascinating that a company would make a $5 billion investment just to get a collection of really smart people. And so it just speaks to what we were just talking about, that this stuff is moving so fast, that it's changing so quickly, that the regulatory boards just, I just don't think, have a fighting. They can't keep up with social, and social didn't move anywhere near this fast, So, but I'm curious, just leaving all that side of it aside, what you thought of this whole AMD acquisition.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that to see how the chip companies are starting to finally verticalize and become systems companies. Of course, NVIDIA's talk around software has been pretty obvious over the past couple of years as well. But AMD basically bought ZT Systems, a data center infrastructure company, because they want to build systems and buildings and all sorts of things, above the chip level. And to do that, they needed a company that had experience in building all of these systems. And apparently, they don't care about ZT systems themselves, since they are divesting the entire data center infrastructure manufacturing business, which is whatever, 5 billion, 6 billion, $7 billion a year. They're happy to just get rid of that. And they'll probably make some money when they spin that off as well, but it's probably a low margin business. But what they really wanted was these smart people who could figure out systems design, just to build stuff around the AMD chip. That's at one time. On the one hand, I feel like it's really smart. On the other hand, I feel like, wow, like it seems like such an extravagant thing to do.
Well, it also speaks. So we'll talk in a second of that Juniper event today, and I think this is connected. But it also speaks to the fact that what's the old saying? All that is new is once old, or something like that, right? Everything that's new was old, whatever. But we have these cycles repeat. So at the very dawn of everything that we do now, we had these horizontally and vertically integrated closed systems, right? The IBM ecosystem, and then there were obviously other competitors that eventually came around. But it was this whole, because the premise was, as the purchaser, as a user of these systems, you didn't have anywhere near the expertise to actually execute and operate any of these. So they basically delivered this sort of turnkey thing, and the old is it bring up a truck and they put the whole thing in. And then we had the whole distributed computing sort of thing, and everything broke apart. And suddenly it was on the enterprise to deal with all of it. And that worked for a while because it was relatively simple. And what we're seeing now is that the workloads have become so critical and so intensive that these companies are saying we need to sort of go back to this, maybe not closed architecture, but where we need to own the stack, because it requires a high level of expertise to integrate all of us together in a way that you can get these performant characteristics that you need. And so I think that's what you're seeing start to play out with this. And I think we clearly are seeing NVIDIA go the same way. I think we're going to see Intel moving in the same direction. It's just sort of where this is happening because, ironically enough, hardware is again relevant and it's important. And